Let's take a moment to consider subnet sizing and considerations in AWS VPCs. I'm Kurt Chambers from Madison College, and this presentation is brought to you by the Madison College Cloud DevOps program. Let's consider a typical small subnet, 192.168.0.0/28. A /28 subnet happens to be the smallest supported subnet in AWS. Unlike non-cloud subnets you might provision on a typical Cisco router, AWS subnets have a couple of important differences. There are specific AWS reserved addresses that can't be used, and no Layer 2 or VLAN operations are supported within an AWS VPC subnet. Let's have a look at how that breaks down for our 192.168.0.0/28 subnet. First, I've broken out the last 8 bits into binary so we can concentrate on the part that really matters to us. Remember that in a /28 subnet, the first 28 bits of the address are dedicated to the network portion, and we have the last 4 bits of the last octet to play with and assigned host addresses from. 2 to the 4th power equals 16, or 16 total IP addresses. But of those 16, what can't we use? Let's look at a conventional example first. Again, our 192.168.0.0/28 subnet. In networking, you learned the first and last addresses could not be used. In our case, that would mean 192.168.0.0 cannot be assigned to a host device, and 192.168.0.15, or the broadcast address for the subnet, could not be assigned to a host address. I've broken those out in binary on the far right so you can see how that looks. Remember that the broadcast address is simply calculated by turning the 4 bits on of the host address. In our case, the last 4 bits of the last octet. A conventional non-AWS /28 subnet would provide 16 minus 2 or 14 available IP addresses that you could assign to various host devices, servers, workstations, IP-enabled cat feeders, whatever you have. But what happens in AWS? First, let's consider the same subnet, 192.168.0.0/28, and those 4 bits we have available to us for our host addressing. Not available for use are those same 2 addresses that are not available for use in a conventional non-AWS subnet. The first are network address, and the last are broadcast address. Also not available are 3 subnet addresses that AWS reserves specifically for them. 192.168.0.1 in our example would be dedicated to the VPC router, .2 to the VPC DNS server, and .3 is reserved by AWS for future use. Represented on the far right are how the last 8 bits would look in binary for these 5 addresses. So an AWS /28 would provide 16 minus 5, or 11 available IP addresses you could assign. 192.168.0.4/28 through 192.168.0.14/28. I hope you find this helpful when calculating subnet sizing in AWS.